I'm gonna turn a regular bedroom that you see here into a completely finished YouTube studio, and I'm gonna walk you through everything step by step from choosing paint all the way to voice activation and soundproofing. The very first step is I typically like to choose a paint color, and I don't want to choose something completely white. I want something that's a little bit darker to create a better contrast. So in this case, I'm gonna choose gray. So we're gonna go through and obviously paint the whole room gray here, but you basically want something dark enough to create a contrast between you and the background so you don't blend in with the background. Gray is usually a really good color. Next, I'm gonna lay out the furniture the way I like it. I basically have a couple of different desks that I'm gonna put right in the middle of the room actually, so I could put my cameras and lighting right on the outside. And then I'm gonna put my bookshelf in the background because that is actually what my background is going to look like. And I'm gonna have two options. This is gonna be my primary background. I'm gonna sit right here and I'm gonna see the bookshelves in the background. So that is gonna be what I call my A shot or my #1 setup. And then I'm gonna look on the other side, the other wall, and I could choose this as a secondary background. Sometimes you do wanna mix it up, and then you could actually have two different sets or two different looks out of the same room. Now, once it's painted, I usually like to black out windows because I don't want any daylight coming in, so I could record whenever I want. I don't have to rely on sunlight. I'm gonna basically create my own lighting anyway. So that's the next step, is actually blocking out any sunlight. Now in this case, I'm gonna use a sound blanket. These are basically moving blankets, but sometimes they're referred to as sound blankets when you're using them for this purpose. But it's gonna do two things here. It's gonna cover the light coming in from the outside, but it's also gonna actually diffuse the sound a little bit. The next step after that is I like to actually cover the floor with rugs or even carpet the floor if you have hardwood floor, because hardwood floor is really, really bad for echo. So if you want better sound quality, you want to actually cover as much of the floor as possible. I don't want to use carpeting here, and in this case, I'm going to actually buy some big area rugs here to cover this entire room as much as possible. Now, I've already set up my camera here, so I'm going to roll that in, but I'll talk to you about cameras in a second. Right now, I'm just going to put the camera in place so I could walk through my shot. But don't worry about this big rig here that I got going on. This is a teleprompter, more advanced camera. I'll show you some beginner-friendly options when it comes to cameras that I use for my studios. Let me just talk you through kind of the cameras that I have set up here that I use. These cameras are all made by Sony. All the cameras I have in all my studios are built by Sony, and they range in price. So a beginner-friendly price for these is typically around $1,000. And then you want to actually buy the lens separately in some cases, but I'll go ahead and link some resources for beginner to advanced in the description below. But typically the lenses are sold separately, and this is the camera body that you buy just like this. And then all you need then is a battery. They typically come with one, and then you need basic memory cards. This just shoots on regular SD memory cards. They sort of look like this. Again, depending on size, they could range in price, but I believe this one's about $50 or so. Then you just put that in and then you press record. Now it could get really advanced. So this setup, for example, is far more advanced than the basic camera body I use. So this camera body, for example, is about $3,500, and this lens right here is about $12 to $1,500, somewhere in that range. So this is far too advanced for what you need, but that's just what I use in most of my sets for the overhead camera and the head-on camera. But there are versions of this like the A7 IV and a couple other lower model that I'll link below in the sheet that will actually get you a good, really good quality, almost close to this quality. I'm also gonna use these power strips. One is a surge protector. This is gonna help me if I basically lose power, my computer is gonna stay on. And the other one is solely designed for voice activation. This is really, really cool. I'll show you later. Basically, I plug everything into this, and then I use Alexa to voice activate every single plug that you see here. And my computer is gonna go to the device that actually has surge protection. If I get hit by a storm, for example, that's gonna save me from losing my progress on the edit. Now, as far as the furniture in the room, I got a couple of different desks. I got this standing desk here that comes in really, really handy. And then I'm gonna do some wire organization as well. I just have these little clips here that basically attach to my desk. And I also have this other desk here that's an L shape. So this basically allows me to look a couple of different ways to get a couple of different options for how my background looks. You obviously only need one desk. You don't need basically 3 different desks put together. Okay, now that I have my camera, my desks, and basically my background picked out, the next thing is to light myself. And I'm gonna use 2 primary lights. They're going to go to the left side and the right side of the camera. And again, all the resources that I'm mentioning here, I'll link below with a beginner-friendly option and a more advanced option. Typically, I use the more advanced option for my set, but I did start with a lot of the beginner-friendly options that I think are gonna do the job for most people starting out. Usually with cinematography and my background, you usually wanna use 2 lights, one on either side of the camera with slightly different intensities. And I plugged everything to my smart plug with the Alexa app, so I could basically either use the app or use the voice activation to turn on one or both of these lights. As far as lighting goes, for beginners, I recommend this light. This is just called a GVM 800. And this basically is dimmable, and it also has different colors too, so you could use it as background or you could light yourself with it. And it comes with this softbox. So the softbox right here basically makes the light a lot softer than if you didn't have this on. So it just snaps onto the back. But this is very beginner friendly. It's not gonna be as soft, it's not gonna be as controllable as the aperture lights that I'm using. But I am using this for my background light as an example, and I use it in some of my other studios where I don't wanna spend a lot of money on the lighting setup. Next, I'm gonna set up my microphone. This is basically a rig I have here, and this is called a boom mic or a shotgun mic. And it's gonna go above my head. I like these type of mics because you don't see them in the shot. This is typically what we use in the world of video production. Again, this is a far more advanced mic than most people need. So again, I'll link to a beginner-friendly one, but this is as advanced as it gets. This is called the MK50. It's by a company called Sennheiser. So you buy the mic, you buy basically the hook that holds that boom pole, and it's gonna just sit right outside of the shot. You'll see what it sounds like in a bit. Again, budget friendly all the way to advanced is linked in the list. And now that I've got everything set up, let me actually jump into the cameras that are set up right now so I could show you a few of the shots that I got going so far, and then we'll improve on them as we go. Okay, so let me show you the lighting right now. Ignore this light, this is just the office light, just to have something before I turn on the main lights. I'm gonna turn on the power strip here with my Alexa app. And these are the 2 lights right now that I have set up. And the lighting looks pretty moody because the background is really dark. And that's because I basically blocked all the daylight coming in from the sun. And I also painted the room pretty dark to create this nice contrast between me and the background. But now I need a 3rd light to basically bring up the room. And I'm gonna bounce that right into the ceiling, because if I bounce it into the ceiling is white. It's gonna basically create all kinds of light that is gonna fill in the room. So this is the light now bouncing in the ceiling, and it's doing a nice job, and it's dimmable. So if I want less or more to fill in the background, I could do that. But I feel like this one shelf here is a bit dark, especially when I put things in it. So I might add a 3rd light or a 4th light here to bring that up. Okay, so the background light is set up and I just turned it to blue. That one could be any color, so it might just be white, or I might leave it on a color after I set up the rest. Let me do one more thing. I think this corner is really dark, so I'm gonna put just a practical light, just the office light in there, and see how that looks. I think that light's really nice. It's actually really warm, so every light in here is called daylight temperature, which is kind of cool relative to that light that is really warm. So I think it creates a really nice contrast for the background, and that one is on a dimmer by default, so I'm gonna leave that one and use it for most of the shoots. And I think by the time these 2 bookshelves get filled out with the different gadgets and different books, it's really gonna bring it all together. And we still need to do something about the echo, the sound in here. I'll show you that last. Here's a different YouTube studio that I've built from scratch, and you could see these panels on the wall. These really help with sound, and you could get them for the ceiling too. So I bought the really thick ones for the ceiling, and I rigged them up in the ceiling. And if they're going to be in the shot, you could also buy these. So these look a lot better if you plan on using them in your background, which is the setup I have in the other studio. But right now for this set, I'm gonna use the same blues that I have in my other studio. And here's 3 of them. That's all it really took to cover this wall with enough covers that I think that's gonna really help. I also got these hue lights here. These are just Philips Hue bars. and they're going to light up the background, and these also could be any color. These come in a set of 2, so I love these because if I use my background on this other angle, I could have a nice blue wall or whatever color I choose. Now, before I show you the final setup, these are a couple of really advanced things that most people don't need, but I shoot overhead shots, so I have a camera rigged up overhead. I also have a switcher, so I could put 4 different cameras or 3 cameras and a computer into this device and switch between them. This cuts down on my editing. And I also have podcasting mics, so this could become my podcasting studio. The teleprompter helps with that. These type of mics help with that because they don't really pick up any echo or background noise. It's the exact same one I'm using right now. And everything is connected to Alexa here with this little device, and I could basically turn on and off the lights or the whole studio whenever I want. Okay, this is pretty much the final result that I have. I still think I need something back here, but I don't have anything picked out. So let's call this final for now. And I'll just kind of walk you through what I have going on. Let me show you, I have everything voice activated. Alexa, turn off studio. Basically the 4 different lights I have here are all on voice control. And I have an office light. Alexa, turn on office light. So this background light, I still don't have voice activated, but this office light, this is just when I'm working and I don't need the studio to be on. Alexa, turn off office light. And then the studio itself, Alexa, turn on studio. I think this kicks in 3 different lights. It's gonna kick in this main light here, this light here to fill in this side of my face, and the background light that is doing that to the background. And I think that's the 3 different lights that I have going on. And I also have an overhead. Let me show you the overhead angle here. And I've rigged that up to the switcher. And basically with the overhead, it's on a lens that I could zoom in. So a lot of times when I'm showing something, I could basically pick something up and show it like this. This makes it a really easy way to do that. And then let me go ahead and zoom out here just to show you. Basically the switcher, this is how I could switch. So if I press 1, it's gonna go to me. And if I press 2, it's gonna go here. And if I press 4, it's gonna go to my computer. So this is a really nice way to kind of switch between the different angles that I have. And I'm gonna move this, and everything's getting recorded on this hard drive. So I just unplug this, take it to my computer. Again, far too advanced for most people and what they need to do here, but you get the idea. You could really take this to the next level. And the sound here, I still want to put some sound panels on the ceiling. I think there's still a little bit of echo with these type of mics, but if I end up using a mic that basically sits right in front of me, the echo is not that big of a deal. But right now I'm not using that mic, I'm using this mic that's above me, and it does pick up a bit of echo. So I could use a little bit more paneling. Let me just show you. On this side of the wall, I do have a few different panels with a little bit of lighting, so I could set up another camera on this angle that I showed you before. But other than that, it's pretty much all set to go. I have the carpet all set up. This is my main shot. And I think the lighting here looks really good too at the same time. So I don't need any special lighting. The lights I've set up from this direction and this direction do a really nice job, since I do a lot of phone overview and these type of overhead shots. So again, I've organized everything that I talked about here with diagrams linked in the description, so you could actually check everything out for yourself and make the decision how far you want to really take it. Again, you can make it very, very simple with a basic camera and a couple lights and a microphone, or you could really take it to the next level like I've set up here with a teleprompter, voice activated studio, standing desk, and everything else. But I'll leave all that to you. Again, I've been doing this for a long time, so I've evolved as I've actually set up the studio and other studios over time. So I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you on the next video.